Weed of the week is volunteer corn. Now, is it Roundup Ready corn? Is it conventional corn? Is it tolerant to, let's say, one of the FOPs out there? That'd be something like Fusillade, for example. What's it tolerant to? That's probably the biggest question.
Well, it sure is. And then what crop are you in, and what options are you going to have? If you're back in continuous corn, is there really an option to take the volunteers out?
Probably not. So that back in the old days, I'll call it, back 15, 20 years ago, we would rotate in our continuous corn, Roundup corn with Liberty corn. Well, today, those traits are stacked so often that very often isn't possible. Now, if you raised just Roundup corn last year and you want to go to a Smart Stacks or some form of Liberty corn this year, then yes, you could spray Liberty out there, and that should control your volunteer corn.
All right, so let's take the more common rotation soybeans. If you've got a soybean crop and there's some volunteer corn out there, this is not just an eyesore, it's a big yield robber. Look at all the nutrients and water that corn takes in.
Weed for
weed. It competes well.
That's right, weed for weed. This is the worst weed you can possibly have. Now, I'm not saying if you have 10 million water hemp plants in one volunteer corn plant that volunteer corn's worse. But what I'm saying is if you had 100 volunteer corn plants and 100 of anything else, even Palmer pigweed, volunteer corn takes the most yield. So if the volunteer corn is tolerant to nothing, Fusillade's absolutely the best, hands down. Fairly close behind it, though, would be Assure 2 or Secure. Then you step way down to Clethodim. Clethodim, in my opinion, is terrible on volunteer corn, except for if, let's say, you have the FOP-tolerant corn. Well, now what are you going to go with? Now you're going to have to go with one of the DIMs, that'd be like the old Post, or you're going to have to run with Clethodim.
So keep in mind, corn is a grass plant, so we're going to use grass killers to try and take it out. The other thing that I'd mention is the timing. We get a lot of questions about, do I spray it on my first pass through the field? Do I spray it post-emerge on the second pass through the field? I would encourage you, the earlier the better, controlling volunteer corn in most cases, because that corn plant can host corn rootworms. Now all of a sudden, what you're trying to accomplish with crop rotation is going to be defeated.
Okay, the other big thing that happened in 2020 is a lot of people planted Enlist soybeans. They went out and sprayed Enlist. They tank mixed something, whether it was Fusillade or Assure 2 or Secure or Clethodim, with their 2,4-D product Enlist 1, and guess what happened? Antagonism. Same thing happens when you put dicamba with any of those grass killers. Antagonism. That means you have to increase the rate of the volunteer corn herbicide, in some cases double it or maybe even triple it, depending on what the label says.
Yeah, you have to watch out for this. That means that the 2,4-D or dicamba decrease the activity of that volunteer corn herbicide. We're not talking about crop injury here. It just made the herbicide work less on the volunteer corn.
Yep, so you might want to switch products. You definitely want to increase rate.
Well, that's all the time we have for our Weed of the Week, volunteer corn, but Iron Talk is coming up next.